How music affects the brain. Let me tell you a story about how music has touched my life and changed my mind. I remember one afternoon sitting by myself, listening to a gentle piano piece. As the soft notes filled my ears, I felt calm and warm inside. The melody made me smile and I began to sway. In that moment I wondered, how does music do this to us? How does a simple song travel from the speakers into our minds and make us feel so many things? Here I will tell you a long story about the power of music. We will learn in simple words how our brain listens to music, how music makes us feel emotions, how it helps our memory and learning, and why music can make us happier and healthier. Along the way, I will share true science stories and studies. Don't worry, I will explain everything in clear, easy English. And I will ask you questions too to make sure you are following along. Are you ready? Let's go on this musical journey together. How the brain processes music. Let me start with how our brain listens to music. Imagine sound waves from a guitar or a voice traveling through the air. These sound waves enter your ear like little ripples in a pond. Inside your ear, the waves hit tiny hairs and are turned into electrical signals. These signals jump up through nerves into the brain. In the brain, the sound first arrives at a part called the temporal lobe. This area is behind your ears and on the side of your head. The temporal lobe is very busy. It identifies and sorts what we hear. It listens to each note in each beat. According to researchers, acoustic cues travel through the ear and into the temporal lobe, which parses the soundscape, identifies sounds, and tags their components as familiar or unfamiliar. In simple terms, the temporal lobe figures out what the sound is. Is it music? Is it a car horn? Our brain is amazing. When we listen to music, many parts of the brain light up at once. It is not just one simple step. A Harvard Medicine magazine article explains that music lights up nearly all of the brain, including the hippocampus and amygdala, which activate emotional responses to music through memory. The limbic system, which governs pleasure, motivation, and reward, and the body's motor system. The hippocampus is a fancy name for our memory center, and the amygdala is the emotion center. The limbic system is a big network inside our brain that handles feelings and rewards. And the motor system is what helps us move, like tapping our feet or clapping our hands. So, when I listen to a song, my whole brain is busy. The memory part, the emotion part, even my movement part all wake up. One doctor said it well. If you listen to music, lots of different things are going on simultaneously. Music ends up being encoded as a rich experience. That means the brain makes a big, rich picture of the music using many areas at once. Let me ask you a question. We talked about a special part of the brain that identifies sounds. What was its name? Yes, the temporal lobe. Great job. Now think about when you listen to a lively song and you start tapping your foot. Why do you tap your foot? Because music also uses your brain's motor system. It's like your body can't help but move to the beat. Music really does make your whole brain active. Now music is made of patterns, notes and beats that go up and down. Our brain is like a detective. It tries to predict what will come next. In fact, parts of the brain involved in prediction and anticipation get involved when we listen to music. When a singer is about to reach a high note, our brain almost expects it. When the expected note arrives, it feels so satisfying. This is why a song can give us chills or make us smile when it resolves a happy melody. Music plays with our brain's expectations of what will happen next, and that is exciting. Let's pause here. Remember, music travels from the ear to the temporal lobe, and then it lights up many brain parts including the memory and emotion centers. Can you recall one of the parts? Great. Keep that in mind as we talk about feelings next. The emotional impact of music. Now let's talk about feelings. Music makes us feel. Have you ever felt happy, sad, excited, or even scared because of music? I sure have. Once I was feeling really nervous before a school test. My heart was pounding. Then I put on a calm song on my headphones. The gentle melody slowed my breathing and I felt a bit calmer. Music changed how I was feeling. Why does this happen? Scientists have studied it. When we listen to music, the brain sends more blood to areas that make emotions. One health article explains that listening to music increases blood flow to brain regions that generate and control emotions. In other words, music awakens the part of our brain in charge of feelings. This part is called the limbic system. When music plays, the limbic system lights up. It becomes very active. Not only that, music can make us release a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is like a little happiness messenger in your brain. When dopamine is released, you feel pleasure and reward. It's the same chemical that makes you feel good when you eat your favorite ice cream. The article says, the chills you feel when you hear a particularly moving piece of music may be the result of dopamine. Have you ever felt chills or goosebumps when a song got really exciting? That might be dopamine doing its job. So music can literally make us feel good inside by causing this dopamine release. And this happens even before the chorus hits. Sometimes just a few notes of a beloved song make us happy, because our brain remembers how good it feels. Music also connects to memory. Think about a song from your childhood that still makes you smile. It might be because that song is tied to a happy memory, and hearing it brings back the feeling. That is the hippocampus memory part working with the amygdala emotion part to make the emotion strong. A nice example is how old songs can reach people with memory loss. Even some people with severe Alzheimer's, who cannot talk or recognize their family, will start singing along when they hear music they knew long ago. In other words, music can reach deep inside and touch memories we thought were lost. Music can also change our mood in an instant. A fast, loud tune can make us feel excited or energetic. A slow, soft tune can soothe us and make us feel calm. Have you ever cried when you heard a sad song? That's okay. That sad feeling in music gives a safe way to feel our own emotions. Even sad music can give some comfort. In fact, listening to sad music has been found to sometimes help people feel a little better, because it lets us experience sadness in a controlled way. If you ever feel upset, sometimes playing a song that matches your feelings can actually help you sort out those feelings. Scientists have even tested how music affects stress and anxiety. For example, a study had college students listen to classical music every day for 2 months. Guess what happened? Those students ended up feeling much less anxious than before. Music literally calmed their brains over time. Another study put people in a scary virtual reality heights simulation. Some listeners had music on and some did not. The ones who listened to music recovered faster from stress after the VR ride. And in many studies, listening to music has been shown to lower stress hormones in the body, as well as lower blood pressure, and slow the heart rate when someone is stressed. So music can be like a natural stress reliever. When I feel stress in my body, I sometimes play gentle music. It works. Now let me ask you, which brain chemical might make you feel happy when you listen to music? That's right, dopamine. And what happened to students' anxiety in the study when they listened to classical music every day? Yes, it went down a lot. Well done. Music, memory, and learning. Next, I want to talk about memory and learning. I have a fun confession. I learned the alphabet by singing it to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It was so much easier. Have you ever sung a song to remember something? It works because music and memory are best friends. When we learn something with music or rhythm, it sticks. One teacher told me that it's easier to remember lyrics than plain words. It's true. It's easier to recall lyrics to a song than to memorize a poem. And by turning information into a tune or rhyme, students can increase their memory. For example, try to remember a phone number with a silly jingle. It feels simpler than repeating random digits. So in school, some kids use songs or rhymes to remember math tables or vocabulary. This is a simple trick. The melody gives your brain extra clues. Music training also makes a big difference in the brain, especially for children. I read a Science News article about kids who learn to play an instrument. It said that musically trained children perform better at attention and memory recall than kids who do not have music lessons. In one study, kids who had at least 2 years of instrument lessons did significantly better on memory tests. Learning an instrument is like a brain gym. Every practice session is exercise for your memory and attention. Another review of many studies found that children who learn music often have better verbal memory and better language skills. In simple words, music training can boost the parts of the brain we use to speak, read, and remember words. In one report, researchers concluded that kids with musical training had better reading ability and executive functions too. Executive functions are like brain skills for planning and problem solving. That means music might help you focus better in class and solve puzzles. That means music might help you focus better in class and solve puzzles. That means music might help you focus better in class and solve puzzles. That means music might help you focus better in class and solve puzzles. Music also helps adults remember and recover skills. For example, there was an interesting study with stroke patients, people recovering from a brain injury. The study had some stroke survivors listen to music every day for 2 months, and others listen to audiobooks or nothing. The music listeners showed much more improvement in verbal memory and thinking skills than the other groups. They remembered words better and thought more clearly after listening to music each day. It's like the music gave their brains a workout after the injury. Also, do you remember songs from your childhood or teenage years more easily than other memories? Many adults do. One article explains that most people can still sing every word of a song they loved in high school. Why? Partly because when we were young, our emotions were very strong, and that makes memories stick. So those songs are locked in our brain with a lot of feeling. This shows how music and emotion together make our memories very powerful. Let's pause a moment. Think. How did music help the stroke patients? Their memory and thinking improved more than with audiobooks. And why do many people still remember old songs from high school? Because emotions were strong then, and music ties emotions to memory. You got it. Benefits of music for mental health. Music isn't just for fun. It can also help our minds be healthy. Let me share a personal example. A friend of mine used to get very stressed during final exams. Her palms got sweaty and she couldn't sleep. I told her to try playing her favorite slow song before bed. She did, and she said it helped her relax and fall asleep more easily. This kind of effect is true in many cases. Listening to music can improve mental health. Research says music can be used as a tool to reduce feelings of depression and anxiety. We already saw the study where classical music lowered anxiety in students. Music can also lower the body's stress responses. In the VR study I mentioned, those stressful feelings from heights went away faster with music. Music is even used by therapists. People who are hurting or sad often listen to music to feel better. There's a story of a young woman named Casey who lost her grandfather. She was dealing with grief and even some bad memories from his illness. She told a mental health organization that music actually serves as an escape in those moments when the flashbacks are so intense. She listens to a special album every day, the last gift she gave her grandfather, and it helps her cope with sadness and remember happy times. This shows how music can be a friend in hard times. Depression and anxiety can sometimes feel very heavy, but gentle or uplifting music can give us a break from negative thoughts. Even just singing out loud or talking about how a song makes you feel can help. Therapists often encourage people to write down song lyrics that speak to them or share a favorite song with a friend. Music helps us express feelings that we might not know how to say in words. And remember dopamine? That feel-good chemical not only makes us happy, it can help reduce pain and negative feelings too. Scientists think that's part of why women listen to music during labor, and why families play music by the beds of loved ones in the hospital. It can raise dopamine and reduce pain. Let's pause again. Which stories did we hear in this section? We talked about music lowering anxiety and stress, and about Casey who used music to cope with loss. Can you remember one way music helped Casey? It gave her an escape from grief. Good. And what happens to stress hormones when we listen to calming music? Right, they can go down. Real life stories and case studies. Now I want to share a couple more real stories and interesting examples from science and everyday life. These are true stories about how music changed people's brains or lives. A stroke patient and music. Doctors studied people who had a stroke. After their stroke, these patients listened to music every day. One patient was a man who used to love singing. After the stroke, he had trouble speaking, but the doctors had him listen to music as part of therapy. Over time, he started speaking more words and singing bits of songs again. In fact, a published study found that stroke survivors who listened to music daily experienced significantly greater gains in verbal memory and cognition than those who listened to audiobooks or no audio. Music gave their broken brain parts a boost like special medicine. Alzheimer's and music. Think of someone with Alzheimer's disease, where memory fades. There are heartwarming cases where people with very severe Alzheimer's, even those who cannot speak or seem lost, suddenly come alive with music. For example, a report explains that some people with Alzheimer's, who hardly respond at all, will start singing along to music from their youth. A famous example was a man who couldn't speak or recognize family. But when his daughter sang a favorite song, he began to sing too. Music seems to reach memory deep inside even when other parts of the brain have shut down. Mozart and seizures. Here's a surprising one. Some people have epilepsy and get seizures. For many years, scientists have looked at whether music can help. One famous finding is that listening to Mozart's sonata for 2 pianos actually reduced the number of seizures in people with epilepsy. This is known as the Mozart effect in epilepsy. It's not magic, it's science. Certain patterns in Mozart's music seem to calm the brain and prevent seizures. Researchers say that daily listening to this piece helps some patients have fewer seizures. So music is even being tested like medicine for the brain. Fear and music. Remember the scary VR simulation with the elevator? That was an experiment about fear. People who are afraid of heights were put in a virtual elevator going up a tall building. When scary sounds or silence played, they felt a lot of stress. But when a calm piece of music played, their fear was less. The people who listened to music could relax faster afterward. This shows that music can change how our brain processes fear. Group experience. Music can also bring people together. Once I went to a live concert and looked around. Everyone in the hall was swaying, clapping, and smiling together. Scientists say that when people share music, it can feel like everyone is in the same feeling space. For example, at a church choir concert, the researcher observed, the music takes over the mental faculties of all the people. It puts everyone in the same emotional space. It's like music creates a bond between people. As we finish, remember these real examples. Music helped a stroke patient recover speech, made Alzheimer's patients sing again, reduced seizures in epilepsy patients, and even helped people overcome fear. It can also make a crowd of strangers feel united in joy. Music is truly powerful. Conclusion. In summary, music is a powerful force for our brains and hearts. When I listen to music, my whole brain lights up from the ear all the way to the memory and emotion centers. Music connects to our feelings deeply, releasing dopamine and changing our mood. It helps us remember things better and learn more easily. It can heal and comfort us when we are anxious, sad, or even sick. And everyday life stories show music's magic. Healing stroke patients, comforting the sick, and bringing people together. Thank you for listening to this story about music and the brain. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot. Think back on what we learned today. Can you name 2 ways music affects the brain? Maybe you say, it activates memory and emotion centers, and it can improve memory and mood. Good. Keep enjoying music in your life. Every time you listen to a song, remember, your brain is dancing along with you, helping you feel good, learn, and remember. Thank you, and keep the music playing in your heart.